Governor Abbott and state senators are looking to pass property tax cuts. How much could these proposals save you? A free prep class is recruiting candidates for paid apprenticeships in skilled trades. We talk with graduates who discovered the class right here on Fox 26. A woman offers her warning after her Facebook account was hacked and used to try to scam her friends. And the Texas Ag Department believes Temu shoppers have been receiving mysterious bags of seeds from China. What you need to know. Thanks so much for joining us here on Dollars and Cents. I'm your host, Heather Sullivan. Now, one of the biggest bills that homeowners are wrestling with, of course, are rising property taxes. But you could be getting some relief. We talked with a property tax expert about how that bill could get slashed. Well, some proposed property tax cuts are on the table, both from Governor Abbott and Texas Senator Paul Bettencourt. So we're going to break down what these possible cuts could mean to you. And joining us is Colton Pace. He's the CEO at Ownwell, which is a property tax reduction service. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, Heather.
Okay, so first, let's take a look at the governor's proposal. In his State of the State address, he proposed $10 billion in property tax cuts and requiring a 2/3 majority voter approval for a rate hike. Can you tell us a little bit more about this idea?
Yeah, so what he's really trying to do is make sure that it's a priority of the Senate and the House to use some of the funds and some of the surplus we have towards property tax cuts. He's not actually saying specifically which way he wants it, but we can get into that later. And then he wants to make sure they stick. And so making sure that voters have to approve any new increase in property tax rates by a 2/3 majority is something new that would limit people from or school districts from increasing tax rates year after year with only half of the population actually wanting it to go up.
You're mentioning that there's not a lot of specifics about what these cuts might look like, but any idea what this might mean for homeowners?
Yes, absolutely. So the Senate's come on ahead. That's Senator Bettencourt and Lieutenant Patrick. They basically passed already unanimously in the Senate an increase of the homestead exemption from $100,000 in a reduction in your taxable value to $140,000. So that's already passed in the Senate. We'll head over to the House. We're not as sure what the House will do in their plan, but it seems like they're much more aligned this legislative session to pass a higher homestead exemption and to continue to reduce property tax rates.
And yeah, so can you kind of ballpark what that going from 100 to 140? That's pretty sizable. So that could mean some good savings for a homeowner.
Absolutely, yeah. So increasing that homestead exemption should come down to another $350 in the pocket, roughly in the pocket of the traditional homeowner. What it's really doing is reducing the taxable value. So if your home is worth perfectly $140,000, you will not pay any school district taxes going forward.
Okay, and you mentioned that this now moves to the House, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there with that particular measure. But going back to what the governor was talking about, having to require a 2/3 of voters to pass any rate increases, I'm already seeing Democrats kind of push back on that. So any thoughts about how much of his ideas will come to pass?
Yeah, I think you're right. Democrats aren't necessarily in favor. Republicans typically are. And in areas like Austin or Houston, oftentimes more than 2/3 majority even votes for increases in taxes. And so things may not change as much as we anticipate, even if it does go into effect. But I still think they will be pushing in this legislative session. And I think Abbott will kind of lay down the law and trying to get what he calls loopholes closed so that taxes can't go up as easily as they did prior.
Interesting. Sounds like we have a lot to watch this session. Colton Pace with Ownwell, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There is a free class to prepare candidates for paid apprenticeships in skilled trades. It's being offered by the Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council, and they are recruiting right now. So we caught up with some recent graduates now working as paid apprentices who discovered the program, watching it right here on Fox 26.
And I saw your news article, and I was interested.
Eloy Zamudio says he was inspired when he saw our story last year about the 3-week apprenticeship readiness program by the Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council.
What you said about how the I guess the older generation is starting to retire, and like that need for, I guess, new blood is what I kind of interpret it as, that needed to fill the shoes and like kind of be a part of society and like be something greater than what you are. And
He's now a paid apprentice with benefits, learning to become an electrician. From welding to pipe fitting to construction, skilled trades workers are highly paid and in demand as boomers in the field are retiring.
Whether it's in the commercial or industrial facilities, there is a huge demand of that workforce because we have a retiring age. And we're always constantly having to fill that workforce.
The 3-week apprenticeship readiness program prepares candidates for paid apprenticeships in a variety of skilled trades. The 5-year apprenticeships start at $15 to $25 an hour with health and pension benefits and yearly pay raises. Jamari Jimenez also saw our story and is now a paid apprentice in plumbing.
This is a great career, and you can learn stuff like this and even more. This is just my starter right now.
A starter for a new, high-paying, and in-demand career.
I do want to become the master electrician. That was something that was introduced to me in the apprentice apprenticeship program, and I'm like, that's like my goal.
And we wish them the best of luck. So here's the information. They're taking applications right now. The phone number to call, 832-429-1944. I've also got a link for you to the program. It's on Sullivan Smart Sense on fox26houston.com. Just check it out. Now, we continue to hear alarming stories about how scammers are hacking into Facebook accounts and using them to swindle people's friends. Well, one woman is offering her warning after she says a hacker posted a fake ad for a car on her Facebook page. Jenna Sachs with Fox 5 in Milwaukee shares her story.
He's very lovable.
When some dogs sense danger, they make their voices heard. Even from another room during an interview with Contact 6.
Well, thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome. Sorry about the dog.
That's okay.
Stacy is also using her voice to warn others
There should be some measure of protection.
about a danger she discovered on Facebook.
I don't think they really take it seriously.
In late December, Stacy says hackers used a compromised password to lock her out of her account, changing her name, phone number, and recognized devices.
So then I started looking at ways that I could try to get in contact with Facebook.
3 days after Stacy first notified the social network, she says the hacker posted an ad as Stacy for a car.
Looking to sell my well-maintained 2011 Toyota Camry.
The hacker told one interested buyer, "I'm getting a lot of texts about the car," and asks for a deposit. The deposit is to hold it until you come see it, and it's refundable if you don't like it.
We know of about 3 people who had paid the hacker payments.
One of them sent $500. Stacy says Facebook did remove her page a few times, but it reappeared hours later. Stacy says it finally disabled the account after more than a week and after other users reported it too.
It took numerous attempts to reach out to Facebook to let them know.
It's not unusual for Contact 6 to hear about hijacked Facebook pages or the issues users face retrieving them. We can relate. In the last 3 years, Contact 6 has gotten 8 complaints about hacked accounts. Facebook hasn't responded to any of them.
Well, a lot of social media companies, Facebook included, have been cutting staff.
Marquette professor Michael Zimmer says it seems Facebook is prioritizing concerns.
It's an issue with their own success. They have so many users, and now there's so many people trying to do bad things on the platform. So how can they keep track of all that?
Facebook isn't responding to the Better Business Bureau in Sacramento either. That's why its rating is an F.
Facebook within the last 90 days has received a total of 1,000 complaints, and these are complaints at the national level.
The BBB says this is why Facebook users should use 2-factor authentication and unique passwords when buying anything on the site, Don't provide personal information. Don't move conversations outside Facebook and meet only in a public place. Try to verify the seller is who they claim to be.
The number of people that this has happened to, I mean, I'm not I'm not alone.
Stacy no longer has a Facebook page, and while she's just one unhappy former user, let's just say sometimes even a small dog can bark really loud.
Be aware that you need to be very vigilant of your account.
We did reach out to Facebook for comment on this report, but did not hear back. I'm Jenna Sachs, Contact 6.
Well, I do have an update for you that we were able to help a couple finally receive a FEMA reimbursement for a generator after waiting for 6 months. We introduced you to Joe and Patty Callahan a few weeks ago, and they're among many people who say they applied for FEMA assistance after Hurricane Beryl last summer and were still waiting for 6 months. Texas Health and Human Services says FEMA asked them to help process 1.5 million applications from Beryl, but the Callahans just let us know that since we reached out to HHS, they have now received $629 to help cover the cost of the generator that they had to buy to get through that long power outage. If you're still waiting for FEMA assistance, you'll find some helpful links on Sullivan Smart Sense on fox26houston.com. Well, whether it's the Los Angeles wildfires, hurricanes, or tornadoes, the growing number of homes destroyed in disasters is really shining a new light on ways to build homes to be more resilient. We talked with a concrete home builder, and you're going to be surprised at how the overall cost actually compares. After seeing so many homes devastated by fire in Los Angeles, and of course, we are accustomed to seeing homes damaged by hurricanes and tornadoes here in the Southeast, we want to talk about how homes can be built in the future to be much sturdier to withstand disasters. So we're talking about homes built with concrete, and I'm here with the CEO of Everlasting Homes, Frank Rossier. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first, just explain to me the concept of this is a home made of concrete.
That's right. That's right. So the way it works, we're using a system called SCIP, Structural Concrete Insulated Panel. This one is made by RSG 3D. So this technology exists for about 40 years in Europe, South America, and I mean pretty much everywhere in the world. It's made of 5 inch of insulation, the foam that it goes in the middle. That's what provides the insulation of the entire structure. And then you've got a galvanized mesh on both sides, and those mesh are connected with little trusses, so that it gives it, a very sturdy panel. The panel is 4 feet wide up to the length that you need for your house. Then we apply a shotcrete or a concrete, 1.5 inches on both sides, so that gives you an 8-inch wall that has 3 inches of concrete, so it's like half the weight of a typical concrete structure. So I like to call it a lightweight, bunker, because we made the walls, the floors, and the roof with the system so that it provides an entire monolithic envelope that will resist pretty much anything.
And let's just talk about how that makes the home more resilient to winds, trees falling, flooding. Talk to me about that.
So the mesh of those panels, they are all connected together, so they create, as I said, a monolithic structure. And when you apply that concrete, so it's a special concrete, and when you run the simulations, those houses can resist 200 miles per hour wind, and fires for a couple of hours as well.
And so we were talking there, it costs roughly 10 to 20% more to build a home like this, but there's a savings in homeowners insurance and energy efficiency.
That is correct. Over time, over a 30-year period, a mortgage, people will save between 50 and 60% of the cost of the house.
That's incredible.
Due to insurance savings, energy savings, and maintenance savings.
Yeah, and of course that peace of mind, which
is
so valuable.
Peace of mind, yes.
Yes, well, Frank Rossier with Everlasting Homes, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And in Southeast Houston, Heather Sullivan, Fox News. All right, well, how about buying chickens to save money on eggs? With soaring egg prices, more folks are turning to backyard farming to save money at the grocery store. Alejandra Guzman with Fox 13 in Seattle gives us a look at what that's actually like.
Walking into the Bothell Pet and Feed Supply, you're greeted by the earthy scent of grain and the unmistakable theme, chickens.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken. The chicken.
Doesn't matter. Either way, it's an egg sighting debate that always ruffles some feathers.
Chickens has been very big for us, and the amount of people doing backyard chickens.
Many are taking up a new hobby, backyard farming, as a way to save some cash. Brendan Laska, manager at the local feed store, has witnessed the growing trend firsthand.
People want the eggs.
A grocery store run has become a chore. You don't even do a double take at the empty egg shelves anymore. If you're lucky enough to find some, there's a limit to how many you can buy. Bird flu to blame for the lack of supply. This store has been selling chicks for the last 30 years. He says COVID boosted the backyard movement.
We had people lining up 2 hours before we even opened to get in line to try and get them.
In 2021, Brandon says he sold 1,000 chicks. This year, they expect another 1,000 to pass through their doors between March and April.
Hopefully, maybe more, if we could get more, depending on how big the demand is for it.
If you're a first-time flock owner, Brandon isn't worried.
More waters, feeders. Once they get older, we have treats for them.
The initial investment runs a total of about $160, chicks included, plus a starter kit and a cage, because you can't just get one chicken.
I say to get 4. They are a flock animal.
The hardest part is keeping them warm the first 4 months. After that, you're guaranteed straight from the coop eggs.
Don't count your chicks before they hatch.
Knowing the longevity of the task that you are setting out to do, these birds can live for a long time.
The Washington State Department of Agriculture recommends you buy your chicks from the National Poultry Improvement Plan certified sources. Bird flu is a major concern. So far, we've had 2 cases this year. At the end of January, a commercial chicken flock was confirmed positive in Franklin County, the largest impact felt in 2022 with 39 cases. While your backyard flock won't solve supply chain issues, you're guaranteed to have a steady source of fresh eggs.
It's amazing the amount of people that do have chickens.
Alejandra Guzman, Fox 13 News.
Well, the future of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is really up in the air after being shuttered for a week, and several leaders have been let go by the Department of Government Efficiency. The CFPB works to protect you from financial fraud, but now some of those protections may not come to pass.
Protesters sounded off after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was shuttered for a week.
The CFPB is there to make sure that Elon's new project can't scam you or steal your sensitive personal data.
But some critics say it's gone too far.
What they do is they prevent banks from engaging in what they're supposed to do.
So what's at stake here? The shuttering puts a pause on the CFPB's actions, leaving questions up in the air about its pending lawsuits, like one accusing 3 banks of allowing fraud over Zelle payments, another accusing Experian of failing to remove errors from some people's credit reports. We asked the University of Houston law professor Jim Hawkins, can the CFPB be shut down altogether?
That would take an act of Congress, because an act of Congress created the Bureau, and actually it's unlikely that even the Bureau could just be shut down, because the law requires the Bureau to do certain things.
The CFPB recently finalized some rules, like limiting overdraft fees to $5 and removing medical debt from credit reports. But they haven't taken effect yet, and they may not. But Hawkins says rules that are already in effect cannot be undone.
That even though the homepage for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says, this page isn't operational anymore or page not found, all of the other pages where it has the prior rules and research the Bureau has done are all still active.
Meantime, Hawkins says consumers who need help can still turn to other consumer agencies, such as state attorneys general.
The state AGs can enforce federal laws related to consumer protection. And so there are still options. And of course, obviously, plaintiffs' lawyers who sue on behalf of consumers are still there to make sure our companies are following the rules.
Other rules the CFPB has been working on that could end up stalling: a rule to help you get refunds from buy now, pay later apps when you return something you purchased, and a rule to make fees and interest more apparent on paycheck cash advance apps. But consumers can also turn to some other agencies meantime with consumer issues like the Federal Trade Commission and the Better Business Bureau, as well as state attorneys general. That's our show. Thanks for joining us here on Dollars and Cents, and we'll see you next time.